Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the part 2 of my Disney-a-thon reading vlog, and I only have 3 books left to finish this read-a-thon. So let's get into what those books are. If you have not already checked out my reading vlog part 1, make sure you do. I'll link it in the cards above and in the description. So the books that I have left to read, one I am currently reading, and that is for the prompt of Flounder, read a book with a great friendship, and that is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I am currently on page 339 of 435. This is the story of a girl named Claudia whose best friend Monday goes missing, and no one really seems to be looking for her. There's like this cover-up going on with her family and all of that stuff, so it's pretty good thus far. I kind of thought it was going to be something different than what it is. I thought it was almost going to be like a murder mystery situation, but it's more about her grief and feelings of loneliness and just trying to live her life after losing someone that she was really close to, and also maybe discovering that her best friend wasn't everything that she thought she was, and that her best friend had a lot of secrets. I'm listening to the audiobook and reading it, and I've discovered that I really like that combination together, because it's like I'm reading along with someone, like someone's reading the book to me and I'm reading with them. So it's really working for me. And yeah, so I probably am gonna be able to finish this today. I am working from home today because I'm not feeling fantastic, but I have a doctor's appointment later today that the office is like an hour away, so I should be able to finish the audiobook while I'm driving. For the Ariel Read a Book featuring a singer as a main character, I have Let Me Hear a Rhyme. This is about a group of friends who want to make their best friend a famous rapper. And then lastly, for the prompt of King Triton, pick like any team's book, you know, following the map. I had already read all of the other team's books, and originally for this I was going to read To Kill a Kingdom, but I ended up DNFing it at 50% in my last vlog because it was just not great. So instead, for this prompt, I am reading 3 Dark Crowns. As far as I know, this is about 3 sisters that have to maybe like fight for the crown. There's definitely royalty in this, so yes. I need to finish Monday's Not Coming, and then I will let y'all know how I feel about it when I'm done. So I have finished Monday's Not Coming, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really good book. Like I said, I was under the impression it was kind of going to be a different story than what it was. I liked it nonetheless. So there were a couple of issues that I had with it. So the time skips were weird. So like it would do before, after, and like 1 year before the before and 2 years before the before. And it was just odd. Like, I understand why it was done, but I didn't feel like it really did anything for the story. Sometimes it was a little confusing. If I had been not reading along physically, I think where they explain what the before and the after really is, I think I would have missed or not understood what it was. And I also didn't really like the reveal at the end. Like, I almost feel like it was too aggressive for the rest of the book, if that makes sense. Like, what happened to her obviously is terrible. Like, it's a horrible situation, but the whole book was very misleading and kind of what ifs. And it was like, she didn't really know what was going on. It was more about her grief and like her dealing with losing a friend. And then the reveal happened of what happened to her friend. And it was just so stark, like compared to the rest of the book. And it was just odd. Yeah, those were my 2 complaints and why I didn't get a 5-star. But aside from those, I think it was written very well. I loved the study into grief and what it is like to lose someone that you're so close with. They had a very, very strong friendship, and you find out that like Claudia really helped Monday in a lot of ways that she didn't really even realize that she was helping Monday with. And it was just a really good book, and I would recommend. There's a lot of trigger warnings in here for obviously death, child abuse, just a lot of stuff. So before you go into this, just know that there are hard-hitting topics. I would recommend looking into people that do descriptive trigger warnings. Just prepare yourself before you go into this book because it is heavy. So I think what I want to read next, I want to read kind of like a light story. I don't know for sure that this is going to be light, but I think I'm going to start 3 Dark Crowns. This is a relatively short book. It is a little under 400 pages. In every generation on the island of Inbrin, a set of triplets is born. 3 queens, all equal heirs to the crown, and each possessor of a coveted magic. Marabella is a fierce elemental, able to spark hungry flames or vicious storms at the snap of her fingers. Catherine is a poisoner, one who can ingest the deadliest poisons without so much as a stomach ache. Aricino is a naturalist, is said to have the ability to bloom the reddest rose, but becoming the queen crowned isn't solely a matter of royal birth. Each sister has to fight for it, but it's not just a game of win or lose, it's life or death. The night the sisters turn 16, the battle begins. The last queen standing gets the crown. So I'm hoping this is just like a fun little fantasy story that I can just get through really quickly, and then I can finish Let Me Hear a Rhyme. I wish that I had the audiobook for Let Me Hear a Rhyme, because I feel like this is like the best story to have an audiobook with, because I think there's like raps in the book, and I think audiobook would be like a great addition to it, but it's fine. I don't think this is necessarily going to be like a tough read in the same way that it's like dealing with, it might deal with grief on like a micro level, but I don't think it's going to be as tough as like Black Girl Unlimited or Monday's Not Coming, or you know, something along those lines, where it's dealing with like the really heavy topics are like the central plot. We will see how it goes, but I'm going to jump into 3 Dark Crowns. I don't think I have the audiobook for this. I use Scribd, which is like the best, but also kind of terrible as far as audiobooks go. Like, I don't use Audible because it's expensive, and I don't use Libro FM because it's expensive, and you only get a limited selection of like books to listen to. I think it's one book for like $13, and that's relatively like, that makes sense, but I just don't really have the budget for that. And so Scribd is $10, and you have an unlimited amount of audiobooks and ebooks. I don't know if I think ebooks are truly unlimited, but audiobooks, if you read like a certain amount of like popular stories, like read too many, then all of the popular stories will be, you'll basically lose them until the next month when your subscription renews, which is lame. I'm not a fan of that, but it still gives you a chance to listen to more than you would with like Audible or Libro FM. If you can like afford it, I would definitely recommend going with Libro FM. They are, from what I've been told, you are getting audiobooks from like your local bookstores, so that really like helps the bookstores in your community. But I just can't justify spending $13 a month on one audiobook. So I would like to have an audiobook for these books, especially since I have that long drive, but it's fine. I might pick up, you know, something else to listen to while I'm driving. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm gonna start 3 Dark Crowns, and I will update you guys when I have something to say. So I am 103 pages into 3 Dark Crowns, and I'm It's okay. It is about 3 sisters, and each of them have like their own powers. So one of them deals with poisons, like that's her quartz, I guess, like that's their deal. One is a naturalist, which means she can control nature, and the other is like an elementalist or something like that. I don't really know the difference between 2 of them, but I'm like getting the sisters confused, and I don't know if it's just because like my brain is not wholly invested in the story or what. Like, it's good and I'm liking it and I want to keep reading it, but I'm struggling to remember. Like, they'll be like, oh well, he likes her, and I won't remember who does what. Like, this sister does this and lives here with these people, and this is what her life is like, you know, like remembering who the sisters are. That's not fantastic. Part of the issue that I'm having is like 2 of the sisters, we get the points of view from, like it's third person, but we are following 2 of the 3 sisters. And then for the 3rd sister, it's like her friend. It's weird. So I'm having like a little trouble like connecting to the characters, which I don't necessarily have to connect to them to like the story, but it's making it difficult for me to remember who is who and does what with who and what their life is like. So hopefully it gets better. It's like a little under 400 pages, so I have plenty of time left to acquaint myself with all of them, but you know, still, I wish I wasn't having to think about it so hard, but you know, it is what it is. Hey guys, so it's the next day from the last time that I updated you, and I am I'm basically halfway through 3 Dark Crowns. Like I mentioned yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment at like 2:30, and I ended up having to get surgery on my foot. So it has not been fun. The anesthesia wore off at like 7 o'clock last night, and since then my foot is just like in terrible pain. I can't walk, I couldn't go to work, and like it hasn't stopped bleeding. I tried soaking it, and it's just, I'm in a lot of pain. So I'm not doing great. And of course, like when I'm in pain and can't walk is when I want to do everything. But I got the brilliant idea, rather than read like I should be doing, like I'm supposed to be doing in this vlog, I am going to go through all of the books. Like, I don't have all my books on my bookshelves because one, my bookshelves are not, like you might have seen them, they're not great. Like they're not shelves, it's like an armoire with shelves in them, and I just put books on there. And I have like books that I like up there, like my favorite books for my collection, and then like I have a very small TBR shelf that has like my library books and stuff on it, and the few books that I own that I haven't read yet. And so the rest of the books that I have are elsewhere in the house. Like we have bookshelves in the living room, and then I have a wall, like a half wall in the bedroom where I have books just lined up across the whole wall. And most of the books that I have are gifts. Like I don't really buy books myself. Most of them are gifts or things that I've acquired over time, books that I've had since I was like a kid and lived with my mom, and like when I moved out they just kind of came with me. So it's like an assortment of random things, and I think I want to add all of like the books that are around my house to my TBR shelf. I have a lot of library books out that I need to read, and then you know, then I'll get to my actual stack. But I really want to move. Well, for one, I need to pack up all of the boxes that I was gonna donate. So at the beginning of the year I like did an unhaul where I like was gonna unhaul all of these books and then donate them, and I never got around to actually taking them to my library to donate. And now my library is not accepting donations, so I have to go to like a local bookstore and see if they'll take them, or go to Goodwill, which is like right up the street from me, and drop them off. But I need to box them up first, so I need to do that. I need to go back through the books and decide about the ones that I want to keep and the ones that I don't. Like I want to keep my bookshelves in the living room full, but I have more books than just the bookshelf. So I need to go through all of that and I will decide what I want to get rid of. So even though I should be laying in bed and I'm in pain and I shouldn't be moving, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Anyways, Three Dark Crowns, wow. It's starting to get good. So like the storylines are starting to like intersect with each other, like just barely. I can see where they're about to start intersecting, and it's really kind of dark, but not as dark as like this could be. I'm pretty sure this is YA, and like I almost wish it was adult because there's a lot of like themes in this that I wish the author like had more leeway to explore, and I feel like if it was an adult fantasy they could. It's very dark. Like one of the sisters is a poisoner and like her whole kingdom is a poisoner, which means that like they have an affinity for poison or an immunity to poison, and so like the queen has to kill the other sisters to take the throne, and poisoners have been on the throne for like the last 3 generations of queens basically, and the poisoner queen sister has no immunity, and so she gets really sick from the poisons. But there's just like a lot of dark elements in the story that I feel like could really be explored if this was adult fantasy, which is fine. Like I think this is a whole series. It might be a trilogy, I'm not entirely sure, but it's enjoyable. It's like entertaining, it's kind of dark, they're all kind of morally gray, and I'm excited to see how it's gonna go. I think they've introduced some ideas into how the ending might go, but we'll see what happens. There's 2 ways that I could see this. One, they introduced the idea that like if every year, every generation of triplets are born, and then they are the ones that like fight for the crown. And they introduced this idea, this made-up idea, that supposedly if 2 of the 3 queens are weak, then they consider it a sacrifice, and the other queen that has powers or is strong can kind of like just be the de facto queen. So that could be one way. They could all get together and decide that they don't want to kill each other, so that they kind of overthrow the rule. I think that's less likely to happen, but we'll see. Or one of the queens could just actually try to kill her sisters and just become queen. I think the most likely option is the first option, and I think that'll be pretty interesting because I think the 2 sisters are gonna like appear weak but not really be weak, so it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see how I feel about my day. I'm hungry, so I really need to get some food, but I can't really stand on my feet for a long period of time. And yeah, so I'm probably just gonna try to make something quick and eat, and then see if I am feeling up for like moving around and stuff. You're bounced very precariously, so if you fall, my bad. I finished Three Dark Crowns. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it. I guess this prompt is just cursed because first it was To Kill a Kingdom, which I couldn't even finish, and then now this one, which I made myself finish. Like, I would have put it down if it was not for this readathon. I didn't like it. The pacing was weird. Nothing happened until like the very last section was like, which was like the last, I would say maybe 50 pages. And this book is almost 400 pages. And the characters there was too many like perspectives in my opinion. It bounced around too much. There were too many characters and nothing was very like well developed. Nothing was really explained. The ending was incredibly disappointing. This was like such a setup for the rest of the series that like it's really disappointing how little this book was developed or like thought out or anything. It's just not good. So the only book that I now have left is Let Me Hear a Rhyme. This book I think is also like a little under 400 pages. So I'm gonna start this and see how I feel about this. I'm hoping this isn't a dud. It definitely should be good. I've heard great things about this, so I'm excited to get into this. If not tonight, then tomorrow. I have to be at work early in the morning for a meeting, but we aren't going to be in the office for very long, probably. I'm probably going to be spending most of tomorrow working from home, so I should be able to get through a decent chunk, unless I decide to just like watch a bunch of YouTube videos, which is pretty much all I did today. Like, I just watched a bunch of vlogs all day long, but it's fine. I still got through my books. You might have seen in the last clip that or previous clips, that I have a bunch of bags of books to donate. I need to carry them out to my car so I can drop them off tomorrow. I was getting fussed at by my partner because he doesn't want me on my feet, but once I get something in my head, it's impossible for me to stop thinking about it until I get it done. So that's just how I've always been. And like I said, I took all of the books off, like all around the house, and put them on my bookshelf to have like a TBR shelf, but it ended up being like a shelf and a half because I had like a lot of classics. So I had to do a little bit of rearranging, but I will show you guys that. I didn't film myself doing it, but I am probably going to play some video games with my partner, and then we'll probably do dinner, and then we'll watch our show. So I don't know how much I'll get into this, but I will update you guys whenever I'm into it and have something important to say. Do I really say anything important ever? Not really. So it is several days later, and I have finished Let Me Hear a Rhyme. I actually finished this Friday night. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really wish I had picked up the audiobook for this. Like I mentioned, this has raps in it. So this tells the story of 3 friends who decide that they want their deceased friend slash brother to like make it big. When he was alive, his dream was to become a rapper, and then when he is killed, they decide like they're going to release an album for him, pretend that he is alive, and make him famous. And so this is like their whole attempt. Was good. I really like Tiffany D. Jackson's writing. In every book that I've read so far of hers, which has only been 2, I believe, she always includes Black history of wherever they are. So like this one is in Brooklyn, and then in the United States in New York, and then the other one was in Cleveland. And so she always had one of her characters talking about Black history from the place that they are living, which I really like. I think it brings like, you want to be famous? Yeah, I feel you. It always, can you stop? It always brings like a feeling of authenticity to the story, because it kind of gives like a background and a feeling to how people are feeling about their own community, and like the kind of backbone of their community, I guess you could say. And so I really like that inclusion, and oftentimes it is lesser known things like in history that you might not know. And I also think that her characters are like very recognizably teenagers. So both Monday Is Not Coming and Let Me Hear a Rhyme had teenage main characters, and they very much acted like teenagers. In this one specifically, they both had kind of the same feeling, but this one pulled in a lot more of like the fun elements of Brooklyn in that time period in the 90s, like the late 90s, and pulled in a lot of references about hip hop and rap and all of that during that time. And there was conversations into how hip hop and rap kind of makes youths feel like they have people that can relate to them, and they can see themselves, like they look at, specifically in this, they talk about Biggie Smalls a lot. So they talk about, you know, Biggie looks like us, like he came from the same place that we're from. He talked about the things that we experience, and it just gives the kids in the community a sort of like a sense of like they see themselves in someone that is big and someone that is famous, and so it gives them the thought of like, I can do it too, I can do better, or I can be better, or I can achieve my dreams. I don't have to live stuck in this situation, I can do what I want. And I also really liked the inclusion of like the POV of the deceased friend slash brother. We are getting raps from him, but we're also getting correlating scenes from the past that correlate to like things that they're finding out about him, or like scenarios that they're talking about that involve him. So I really like that. Comparatively to Monday's Not Coming, I think I like this way more. This has much more of like there's elements of grief to it for sure, but there's also a lot of hope in this. There's a lot of like just wanting to do right by a friend and wanting to memorialize them and see them achieve a dream even if they aren't around to see it anymore. And I think it was really, really well done. It was very accessible, and I really liked this. So like I said, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. So that's the last book that I needed to read for the Disney-a-thon. So let's go over the 3 books that I read in this vlog, and then we can finish out this Disney readathon. Disney-a-thon readathon? Disney-a-thon. There we go. So I read 3 Dark Crowns. This is for the royalty prompt, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I read Monday's Not Coming and gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I just finished, like I said, was Let Me Hear a Rhyme, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So that concludes my Disney-a-thon TBR. I got all of the points. So I have 100 points out of 100. I feel like I said something different last time. I now have 100 out of 100, so I completed it. I did 1 prompt from the Princess and the Frog list, and I didn't do any other prompts, so I didn't get any more points than that. I just completed my team's prompts. I really enjoyed all of the books that I read for the readathon. I think if I had to decide like my top 3, I would probably say my top 3 are... My first would definitely be A Song Below Water. If you watched my part 1 reading vlog, this book was like stunning and weird and just really good. Like, I wasn't expecting the plot to be what it was, and it was just so stunning and really, really good. My next book that I probably liked the most was probably, I would have to say, Let Me Hear a Rhyme and Monday's Not Coming. These both got 4 out of 5 stars, and the rest that I read, aside from A Song Below Water, didn't do as well. So I would say that those 3 were my absolute favorites of the readathon. I definitely think that A Song Below Water will be in like my top 10 of the year because it was just like stunning. I loved it so much, and I probably at some point this year am going to reread it because I don't even feel like I took everything in because it was just so much and just, oh, it was so good. So that's it for my readathon and this vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below if you've read any of these books. Make sure you check out my vlog part 1. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much.